I'm on my phone. My computer can't withstand Zoom, so Rachel is my tech guru, my tech person for tonight.
Cool.
Well, hello and welcome to the Zoomologue viewing party. I am really excited for all of our participants, our collaborators, and those who are joining us as audience members. Woot woot. My name is Steph Miller. I am the curator, producer of the Cold Read series at the Artist Co-op, which is Rachel Berger, who is our executive director. She's the one who's dancing like this with big headphones on. She is our executive director and is an incredible human being and has created a co-working space for artists to incubate new work. And I am in charge of working with our new playwrights and our actors and helping them and supporting them in their playwriting journey. So I curate the Cold Read series, which is essentially the new play development series at the Artist Co-op. But through COVID, quarantine, and having to move the Cold Read series to a virtual space, I essentially was inspired by the idea of how do we keep creating theater and supporting our playwrights and supporting our actors and directors of the Artist Co-op. How do we keep supporting them through the virtual space? And because, you know, we were all going through this wildly unexpected, surprising journey together, I felt inspired to I was curious to see what stories playwrights could develop with the idea that humans are only really communicating through Zoom now. And how are we able to take the skills that we've cultivated through being in rehearsal rooms and things like that, and how can we bring it to the digital space? There is so much talk about the fear of theater disappearing and us not being able to be in the same spaces together, because that is essentially what theater is being able to tell stories in person. But I thought, well, these are our circumstances. How can we keep curating and creating and cultivating and collaborating? Ugh, all the C words, even though, you know, I'm by myself looking at my phone right now, but I see all of your beautiful faces. And so that's where the Zoomologues, my very clever, corny name, Zoomologues, came to be. And I reached out to, you know, the majority of all these beautiful faces that you see and asked them, I said, hey, I have this idea. Will you write monologues inspired by communicating through Zoom? And I essentially said, you can make this about any person in any situation, but the only requirements is that this communication has to be through Zoom, and it's as if this person was asked, so how are you doing? With the idea that the pandemic, they're in isolation, that they are dealing with so much disturbance. So without further ado, welcome to our viewing party. I have compiled all 5 of our, like a little applause, compiled all of our Zoomologues into about a 17-minute video. And then after that, we'll have a talk back, and I have questions that I want to ask our collaborators. I will have them introduce themselves, and I think that's everything. And I'm going to open it up to audience members as well if you have any questions that you want to ask after we're done watching. So, cool. All right, Rachel Berger, unless you have any other words.
That was beautiful. You're beautiful.
Oh,
I might have had a glass and a half too many. So, and I have an eye twitch already. So what's going on? It's Friday.
oh my gosh, any wine support. I mean, a little extra support doesn't help from alcohol.
The wine.
All I ask is that during the viewing, here's I have my water. Cheers.
Cheers.
For all of you.
Santé.
Exactly. The only thing I ask is that if you keep yourself on mute as we're watching, but then once Once the viewing is over, I will open it up to opening up your microphone. And if there is any, background noise that you think is disruptive, you can mute yourself. But honestly, this is like an open conversation. So yeah, we're all in this together, as I like to say. All right.
I'm sorry. I just had a mom moment. I just wanted to double check. Let's start over. The share sound and optimized screen sharing is happening. Okay, I'm going to start over. I'm sorry. Okay, here we go.
How am I doing? How am I doing? Well, today I woke up and did a headspace meditation for about 30 seconds with the hopes that the ongoing existential dread of living in New York in a moment like this could be suppressed by a body scan with Karen. Then I got up and took coffee from yesterday's pot. Still in there. Why make more? What are standards these days? And then I drank some and got into the shower because there's nothing more like pretending you have somewhere to go than taking a shower. Then I looked at the unemployment page and I called and called and called and called and hoped that maybe this time someone would fucking answer. Then I listened to my neighbor, or I should say was forced to listen. He's also known as At Mornings with Scott. You might have heard of him. No, you haven't fucking heard of him. No one has. He hasn't DJ'd in his life, yet he holds 5-hour day-long DJ sets over Zoom because I guess there's no better time than to pursue your budding DJ career when you are locked in your home and you have thin-ass walls. Fuck you, Scott! Then I saw 2 dicks and sent some tits. Online dating has quickly turned into sad, candid conversations intermixed with more nudity. Then, this was the best part. Then I bundled up in 10 layers of clothing / latex to go to West Side Market. I was there searching for garbanzo beans, but they only had low sodium. Fuck that kind. When over the radio, they announced that Alicia Keys was performing a special live song of New York, concrete jungle where dreams are made of. There's nothing you can't do. Well, it was somewhere between avoiding strangers and adjusting my mask when I just started sobbing. Hysterically sobbing. And now I'm trying to reach quarantine enlightenment, which apparently is by making sourdough bread. So here I am, ready to bake. But my starter won't rise. And that's why I'm talking to you lot, because someone told me that this Zoom webinar would answer all of my starter questions, not ask me how I'm doing. So all I want to know is, do I need more water or more flour?
Hey guys, Nora Friedman here, ready for another episode of Shake It Up. I'm sure some of you noticed I didn't post last week, and that's because I was in the middle of packing all of my stuff into my mom's Toyota to bring back here to my parents' house in beautiful Pennsylvania. And let me tell you, it was not easy, but I'm doing okay. I'm doing all right. It's really peaceful out here and actually quite easy to quarantine. So today, on the palette, we have some bright, funky eyeshadow colors. And we are going to be combining the yellow and the orange to make a color that I like to call mac and cheese. Yeah. Hey, Dad, I'm filming. Yeah. Yeah, it's for you. It's for YouTube. Okay. I like to call it mac and cheese because it's like you combine the orange and the yellow and it creates a color that looks vaguely like mac and cheese, if you will. All right. Then you just want to add a little bit of gloss to that. See that here? All right. And that's all for today. Hope you guys have a wonderful week and don't catch the Rona. Hey everyone. So now that I am stuck at home all the time, I have decided that it's time to get a little bit funky with the looks, shall we? So today we're going to be doing a little spin on some 60s cat eye eyeliner. Hey, yeah, Dad, I'm filming. Sorry guys, it's just, you know, when I'm home like this, it's like I'm 23 years old and it feels like high school all over again, only this time it's coronavirus bossing me around, not my parents. So you win some, you lose some. All right. There you go, eyeliner. Okay, and then we're going for kind of a Coachella vibe, so I like to draw some flower crowns on my head. So normally we do, for me it's like flower crown, flower crown, flower crown, flower crown. For a person with a big head, it might be like 5 to 6 flower crowns. For a person with a small head, you might only have 2 to 3. It really depends on your forehead shape and size, and you know, we're really accepting of. Now, we are just going to dance it out, okay? So I just really need to dance it out. All right. Feel the music. Yeah. Sorry, I had to stop. Okay, so my dad's sick, and we don't know if it's the virus or just like a regular flu, but I don't know, he's been doing the errands for us and we don't know if he's like caught it doing that. He always wears a mask, but I don't know, he's 57 and he's healthy, so he's gonna be, anyways, he's gonna be fine. He's gonna be fine. See all you cool cats and kittens later. Rare. Hey guys, sorry it's been a while. I know you've all been asking me where I've been. I just couldn't really find the energy to make another episode because my dad went to the hospital last week and he's on a ventilator and I can't see him. And my mom also can't see him and I'm like really, really scared. So I just wanted to share this thing with you. This is the number of a hotline you can call. And they hook you up with like volunteering stuff that you can do. And it's from home, so you obviously don't have to go out or anything like that. Yeah, I was just thinking I just want to actually start doing something to help people. I was thinking about my dad and I was like, I can't not. People are dying and I can do
so much more. Okay, please stay safe. Bye for now.
If it's all right, can we please stay on task? I know we're all grappling with the same thing here, but frankly, I see no advantage in spending the first 15 minutes wallowing in our own self-pity. No, with all due respect, this is a workplace, Janet. I don't believe I'm still paying each of you to sit there on an animal farm or whatever it's called while you're pretending to listen to Ethan bitch about his kids' Zoom lessons. Oh, Ethan, I didn't mean that. But please, can we just get back to the meeting? I just as soon finish early today. If everyone's fine with that? You good? Yes? Good. I'm sorry, if everyone could just give me a sec. Janet, if you want to continue checking in, that's fine. That's okay. You know what? I'll go next. I'm not doing great with all the sirens. I don't like how I'm getting used to them constantly going. I grew up here in the city, you know, and there were always sirens, but never like this. It was part of the fabric. Sirens and honking and loud music and guys yelling at each other. Just the sounds of people being alive everywhere, all the time. Now it's as if all the sounds of the city have been replaced by sirens, and I'm not okay with that. Like all the sounds of life replaced with a sound. It's stupid. I mean, sirens are a good thing, right? They mean that help is on the way. Help is on the way. I do not believe that help is on the way. So that's how I'm doing. Thank you, Janet. So who's next?
I have not felt the touch of another man in 70 days. That is 1,680 hours if I did the math right. My boyfriend said he was leaving for Seattle for a minute. We didn't know it would turn into a millennium. Right now he's probably sipping Starbucks in his parents' Clyde Hill home. It's one thing to miss your partner, but it is on a whole new level when you wake up every morning and you're reminded that, oh yeah, the world's burning. I am just so horny. It is so quiet around here. Living with my parents isn't bad. I was doing it already before any of this happened, but now it's on a whole other level. Look, I get it. This is time with them that I'm supposed to cherish, but seriously, 24/7. And no one knows what's going on, so everyone's stress levels are just raised by 30,000. My mother the other day literally yelled at the Domino's Pizza Man because he accidentally put onions on her pizza. She was on the phone going, I told you it was pepperonis and sausage, pepperonis and sausage, pepperonis and sausage. Sausage. Boyfriend is living the lush life wet in Seattle. Meanwhile, I'm enduring the longest dry spell of my entire life on Staten Island. So, yeah, that's how I'm doing.
Mom, I'm pregnant. Sorry, I was going to like ease into telling you, but then I saw your face on the screen and felt silly, like ignoring the growing embryo in the room, you know? At first I thought it was just stress. I was late, and of course I go straight to Google because all I have right now is time to overthink. And I've pretty much read all of WebMD, and you know how stress can fuck with my menstrual cycle? Yeah, what the fuck, right? Sorry, I know you don't like it when I use that word, but fuck. Like, cool. I was stressing about the world, and now I'm stressing because I might be pregnant. So, of course, my uterus is like, I'm gonna hold on to this lining for a minute. Like, it's doing me some favor, but I was like, please, eject. And I've never wanted my period more than that moment, but nothing like peeing on 3 different sticks. Yeah, 3. And all the self-checkout spots were taken, so I had to go to the cashier, and this 17-year-old boy's giving me this look, and I'm mouthing, fuck you, under my mask. But all 3 said the same thing. So I'm pregnant. And I'm not gonna be sad about it. This is not some sob story about a pregnant woman. This is just some other story about a pregnant woman. Oh yeah, and James left, so I think I may need to come home for a bit. Mom? Mom, I think you're frozen.
Yay! Unmute yourself!
Yay, yay. There was a little thank you too at the end for Rachel, the artist co-op, but
Whatever.
Yay! Yay! And I'm so curious to hear what it looks like, because Christine, you watched it on your big screen and like where everyone's watching. I'm so curious to hear how it all translated. I'm watching on my teeny tiny phone. Beautiful. Oh, of course. Sorry. I keep scrolling and then I disappear. Okay. So I am so excited to have a large number of our collaborators, our writers, our directors, and our actors with us tonight. So I'm just gonna go down the list of who I see first, and you can introduce yourself. You can share who you are, what you do, and which monologue you were a part of and what you did for it. So Mark, hello.
Hey, hello. I'm Mark Lanham. I'm an actor, and I was in Joe Rake's piece, On the Way, directed by Robert Riley French. And yeah, it was an interesting process. I was thinking before we got on tonight that, you know, typically when you're an actor, you get hired to do a play, but you don't have a conversation with the writer beforehand. So, and that was a cool aspect of this, is Joe and I had a conversation and just discussed some possibilities. And I don't take credit for anything that he did. He's a terrific writer. But that was interesting to be collaborative at that level and, you know, talk about it before it was written. And we just basically talked about the kinds of characters I typically like to play, and something just clicked in him, and he made this amazing piece.
Cool. Awesome. Awesome. All right. And then Megan Jeanette Smith. I see you.
Hi. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I wrote and directed Shake It Up with Nora. I got to work with Catherine Bloom, the performer. I don't think she's here tonight, but it was a really, really fun experience, and I'm sure we'll get into it. So that's all I'll say for now.
Cool. And then, do you prefer Robert Riley French or Riley French?
Funnily enough, I used to say that like my actor name was Riley French and my writer name was Robert French. So having all three is perfect because I guess I didn't perform, but I wrote and directed. So I got to direct Joe's piece on the way, and then I wrote 9 months, the final piece as well. But yeah, it was a really really cool, exciting chance to try and do what we do in space in a little Microsoft Surface screen that I have with you all. So it was, yeah, I'm sure we'll get into more of it, but yeah.
And I have to say, Robert Riley French rolls off the tongue really beautifully. So
maybe we'll keep the writer named Robert Riley French, like Neil Patrick Harris. Like
exactly. Exactly. Amazing. All right, Maggie Wilson, I see you.
Hello. I wrote the first one. I wrote Quarantine Enlightenment, performed by Steph. And I'm a playwright. And I guess, I'm thinking about what Mark said. I guess we talked, Steph and I, but I took like nothing. I was like, I feel like I took all these like buzz things that were happening early on in quarantine, like the sourdough and like all of these people picking up skills that they maybe had or didn't have or wanted to have. Yeah, and it was really fun.
Yeah, whipped it all together. And then, amazing. All right, Joe Rake.
Yeah, hi. So I wrote the third piece, On the Way, which is performed by Mark and directed by Riley. Shout out to Riley, who I believe was the one who had the idea to include the sirens in the background. That was really yeah, watching that, it just made me think about where we all were when you came up with this idea. It feels like 1,000 years ago. You know, what we were all
100%.
Exactly.
What we were all concerned and anxious about. A lot of it's the same, but yeah, it's wild how long it feels like it's been.
A lot has changed and shifted since. And it was funny too, because I remember when when Riley or you had sent me that video and that first siren, I literally looked out my window thinking it was a siren coming from, my neighborhood. So yeah, it's pretty powerful. So amazing. That's everyone, right? Yeah, so I got everyone. All right, so I have a few questions, and collaborators, you can just openly, when you have an idea, just chime in, and we'll just keep the conversation going. And then audience members, after we all have a conversation, I will open it up to questions for you all, if you have any. No pressure though. So my first question is, what did you learn from your experience? You know, writing, directing, acting, like whatever you did. What was something that you took away from this?
Oh, I was gonna say, I know for me, the biggest thing, both as the director and then as the writer the second time around, was kind of like a trust exercise, because you really have a limited amount of time with, I mean, I guess it was unlimited, but you had to leave. Like, it was like you built this nest with whoever you were working with, or if you're the writer, you're building the nest of the script, and then you just had to like let it go. Like, the director had to be like, give it to the actor, and of course Mark sent me a couple of recordings, and then I was like, here's the last few notes. But ultimately it was like I wasn't there in the space in real time as Mark was recording for the final piece. It was like we did all the work together, and then I had to just be like, "Okay, go fly," and that was kind of a cool experience, because I think in the space you do get an idea of what it looks like, and there's, I mean, there's certain directors who are like last minute giving notes, you know, but this one was very much like, hey, I think we've given all that I can, and let's go see what we do. And by we, I mean you, because I won't be there. So it was really, that was a cool like trust experience.
Cool.
Yeah, I would say too, I think like it's really interesting when me and Steph were with Ben, our director, the first time, he was like, you just ask different questions. He was like, okay, are you gonna record it where you are? Give me a tour of where you are. And so we like got a tour, and Steph was sort of house sitting during the time. And so we saw this place, and he was like, okay, show me the kitchen. I think we want to do it in the kitchen. And then like, where's your camera? And there's just sort of this like different level of intimacy, because you're not speaking to an audience, you're speaking to like a singular thing. And I think I'm thankful that it happened like early on in quarantine, because I think as a playwright it was helpful to be like, oh, that's what a director is looking for. That's what we sort of need out of these like online digital connections.
This was actually the first time that I'd ever been asked to write something for a specific actor. I had seen Mark do some stuff at the Cold Read series, but I didn't really know him that well, so we got to have that conversation, and I remember asking him, you know, what kind of parts he tends to play, and Mark said that, you know, he's usually authority figures of some kind, like cops or a judge, or you know, like a military person. And, so that got me thinking. I don't usually write authority figures. Most of my characters are like, you know, slackers or outcasts. And so it was an interesting challenge. And when I had the, you know, the thought of this kind of workplace Zoom meeting, and how, you know, sort of frustrating that would become, it all kind of fell into place.
Yeah, I agree with that actually, because even with writing 9 months, I knew that I had a female performer and a female director, and I was a male writer, and I was like, okay, I'm writing for a female narrator, and I have a female director. What story can I tell that is authentic to me, kind of, but also like can get and gonna have female voices. Not that I have any, like, I'm not gonna be pregnant as a man, but I was raised by women and have all sisters, and I've had multiple interactions with mostly my sisters of just like dealing with their own struggles with pregnancy, whether it be wanting to get pregnant or not wanting to get pregnant. And then at the same time, I found an article about just many women having pregnancy scares because of a bunch of different reasons during COVID crisis. And I read that and I was like, okay, not my story, but I feel like I have enough background in my life that I can tell some of this, and it won't be like the strangest thing for me to write. And of course, I reached out to like, all of my great female friends here in the city, and I was like, I want to run this past you. Does this sound like something you agree with? And they really were helpful there. So that was a great time to be like reaching out to voices, because I was sort of forced to write, not forced to write, but like I had the opportunity to write for a female voice in a way that I don't usually do, and so I had to reach out for some help.
That's really interesting. I'm curious because as the, you know, producer and the person who asked you all to do this, I had very few guidelines about exactly what to write besides write something about a person who's being asked, how are you doing in quarantine and during a pandemic? And I'm curious to hear from all of you, did you I told you to have a conversation with your collaborators, but not necessarily to write the monologue for that specific person. And I know Kevin told me that his was more just kind of based on he just wrote his, and then Frank was the one who performed it. But I'm curious, did you, and Joe, you said that you had Mark in your mind. I'm curious how directly you utilized that conversation to write it for the actor, or was this just more based on what you wanted to explore, and the actor that you had would just happen to be the person that you used?
Well, for me, I guess it just mainly came from that one sort of tidbit that he gave me about the characters and the plays. And from there, the two of us kind of spitballed a little bit, like what kind of story might we be telling? What if this is, something beyond just like a friend checking in with another friend? What if there's like, what if there are separate concerns happening here? And so I came up with the idea of it being like a business meeting or a workplace scenario. So there would be kind of like other factors happening in there. And it also got me kind of excited about the idea of writing a character who I maybe didn't like so much, at the start anyway, or someone who I would have to challenge myself to see from their point of view, because my own personal biases come in, and I think about like the CEO of a company, and and all of my anti-capitalist rage comes comes firing in. But it was an interesting exercise to see it from his point of view, and Mark did a really great job of showing that vulnerability, and that kind of shared experience that we're all having, certainly in New York, while we were the epicenter at that time.
Yeah, for me, once I found out that I was working with Catherine, I wanted to write for her specifically because she's such a strong comedic performer, and I looked up her website and saw her videos and things that she had created before and the kinds of characters that she liked to play. So that was really my inspiration, was finding out that I was working with her and sort of what her types are, what she's into. So I asked her a lot of questions about herself, her life, her family, like where she's at. Tried to use all the information I could when I was writing, and then we ended up cutting a lot of the actual really personal stuff out. But I think that was really, really helpful, because sometimes I think as a writer, when it's just sort of like open-ended to do whatever, to write whomever or whatever, there's too many options. My brain is just like, I don't know, it's a blank page. With all these guidelines for the Zoomologue, even though I broke some of the guidelines and she's not doing a Zoom. The YouTube star thing idea, the beauty influencer, was just such a fun character to play with for her, for both of us. And I think anyway, the guidelines just really helped me to funnel my energy and actually be inspired and be like, okay, well, these are the parameters. And so I'm more motivated to do the work then in that case, because not all the options are available. So I thought it was really, really helpful to have that challenge. Like that short time frame. We only have a couple of Zoom rehearsals. Trying to get all my notes in as a director. Feeling out as a writer, am I okay with all these cuts? Are we changing everything? The technical limitations, what backgrounds do we have? All that stuff. I felt actually really just sort of forced it into what I wanted to do, which is really helpful.
Cool. All right. Well, I'll ask the next question. What were some of the challenges that you faced, mainly, or, in any capacity, but, especially working with a limited space, with a screen space, with whether you rehearsed over Zoom, or I know, I forgot to mention, I directed Staten Island Dry Spell, and we did it over FaceTime. So, it's we literally just had our screens to do the work, and curious what challenges came up for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the big challenges right now is trying to be creative too, and trying to motivate ourselves to write when there are so many sirens and when there's so much just like more outside noise in our lives right now. So I think for me as a playwright, like that was challenging, but I sort of spent, I think we had like a week, Steph, maybe from like the first discussion. And so I was like all week, it was just like in the back of my head. And I was in the grocery store and that song came on and I started crying. And that was sort of like my launching off point of like, we're not okay. Like, why are we pretending like we're okay? So I wanted to sort of write this like critique of like, you know, trying to focus on making sourdough bread while like crying the next minute. So I think putting the personal parts in it made it easier, but the hardest part is just like trying to write right now. Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say, like, as a director, too, a lot of my training. Sorry, is my audio being? Sometimes my audio is so awful over Zoom, and I feel
It's
like
a little in and out.
yeah, I was like, sometimes this happens on Zoom calls. My apologies, but yeah, I would say a lot of my training in school at my university was like viewpointing and Suzuki, like very physically based training in both acting and directing. And you can't do that over Zoom. I can't be like, let's viewpoint on Zoom because I can't like go to a corner and like I'm like go in a straight line, add curves. I can't, yeah, you can't do any of that. And that's how I love to work. Like truly everything else I had directed, I always started my rehearsals off with a Suzuki warm-up. And I was like, I'm not gonna make Mark do Suzuki #1. Like so I don't think there's any benefit to that. So it was sort of like how do I work the physicality in a way that it's just going to read to this camera, a camera that also we don't know like who the audience is going to be. I think the camera is such an ambiguous audience member because it's like an infinite audience. You don't know who's going to see it truly, like at the end of the day. And so I'm like, okay, this is how I see it. And I think the physicality works, but then of course you're like, what happens if I'm like a 12-year-old like child watching this? Is like, does it read the same way? Like, what's the viewpoint? And you don't get to really do that. As we're in the space, I think in a physical space, you do get sort of an idea of like, you know who's going to show up, but also you have a little bit more control over the picture. And so that was kind of a cool, it was definitely a challenge and something that I was like, Mark and I talked a lot about just like eye contact and how to interact with the camera. Because we weren't sure if it was better to like look at the camera directly, or if it was better to treat like how like now I'm looking at my screen and talking to you all, but it looks like I'm not looking at you, whereas if I look at the camera, it does. So we talked a little bit about what was the better choice. And I think, I don't know if Mark did this or not, but we did talk about getting like a screenshot up on your screen of a Zoom call so that you had like faces to look at and look around, because this monologue was like to multiple people, and even like the tiniest eye movement reads over camera, and we're like, oh, what's he looking at? What took your eye? And so we have to like give certain people spaces on the screen, which isn't something you have to think about otherwise.
Yeah, I think one thing that I discovered as an actor that was challenging was after, you know, Maggie, Ben, and I had our hour and a half rehearsal that felt like an actual rehearsal, even though we weren't in the same room together, but we were interacting the way that I would interact with collaborators in the room, was that I was on my own. And it took me like 4 hours. I have so many versions of this monologue on my phone with probably, you know, 90% of them I've flubbed the lines. And it felt like a very, like I had to put in so much endurance to just like keep going, which was really interesting, like, taking away, because on the one hand, being on the Zoom rehearsal felt like I was back at it. You know, I felt like I was with people and working with people, but then having to essentially carry this monologue that I cared about so much on my own was a little, it was a little intimidating. I was like, I just want to make sure that I do it right and I don't have anyone being my mirror, literally, you know, helping me, stopping me when I need to stop, or, you know, being really particular and meticulous with what I'm doing. It's all about, I just have to like put it out there and mess up and see what happens.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I mean, for me, the biggest thing, it's a weird process, because, you know, I had to kind of great work with Joe, work with Riley, but then it's kind of like, okay, now it's your baby. And I think principally as a theater actor, you know, you get feedback. You know, when you're on stage, you can tell if they're listening to you, they laugh, they cry, whatever. But when you're doing it too, you just have no idea how it's going to come off. And I had the same experience as Steph. Is like I kept doing it and doing it and doing it, and just like, I don't want to screw this up. You know, it's so beautifully written, and man, that I just kept thinking of, you know, especially that section where my character talks about the things the way New York used to be, just has this like Arthur Miller kind of cadence to it. It's so gorgeous. And I just, you know, you just don't want to screw it up, you know, but you don't know because you're not getting any feedback. You just keep doing it
Right.
to your laptop.
Right. And you have to like go through the whole thing to
Yeah.
see what the results are.
And the refrigerator starts running and you're going like, geez, I hope they can't hear that damn refrigerator. And, you know, crazy.
Yep.
Well, and I think also I was kind of mean because I told Mark that I was going to have, and I did send Mark the sound bites for the 2 different sirens, but in the recordings he sent me, they were not there. Like he was not listening to them. I just was like, pause and listen to this siren in your mind for this long. And so like it's great that like Mark still had the ability and the like to act through that siren, and we do see him listening to the siren when truly there was nothing there, and I added that in later.
Yeah, when I first heard you were doing that, I wondered if it was because I had somehow like, you know, gone under the word count, and we just needed to fill some more time on the monologue.
Too short.
Wouldn't be the first time with a writing assignment.
Right. It had to be at least 300 words.
No, definitely was not because you were under the word count. I just loved the image of the siren because all of New York was hearing that, and I was like, that needs to be in it. Like, we need to hear it again, because talking about it is something, but then hearing it while talking about it is another. So it was a great image to use.
Yeah, I decided not to attend the rehearsal because I find that as a writer who's not directing, I can sometimes be a little much, and I think it's usually better for me to just let the incredible artists do their work, and if they have any questions, they can ask me.
I'm so curious too, because with both my sessions, the playwrights were there. So Riley, were you there with 9 months?
I was, which actually I was like flattered to be there, but I wasn't expecting to be there. Also, I'm kind of saying that as Joe. I didn't know if I wanted to be there, because I do like to give up the baby, and I was sort of like, my work is done, and like if you have really any big questions, then reach out. But it was nice, I think, to be a part of the conversation. But I did find myself saying, like, you go, you make that decision. Like they would ask me a detailed question, and I was like, I have an idea of that, but it wasn't important enough for me to put it in a script. So I think you can extrapolate and do as what you like. I like a director to kind of fill the holes, and that definitely is what happened. So
Cool. And then Megan, you directed and wrote your piece. What was that experience like?
Well, it's great because I feel like I have all this control over everything, but that's also a bad thing. So like, it's really hard for me to cut dialogue because I'm the writer, but I know that it's too long. It still came out too long, but yeah, so it's like, you know, plus and a minus at the same time. Having all that control, but then not being able to stop yourself is really difficult. And then also I wanted to do all this cool editing because I was like, it's video, I can do all these things after the fact and jazz it up with graphics and blah, blah, blah. And I even asked Catherine if she could like set up like a blue screen and we could do these funky backgrounds. And she was just like, Megan, I'm in my parents' house. I only have a few things here. Let's just do it in the bathroom. I'm like, okay, cool, fine, yeah. But, you know, it's all those things that being the writer and the director can get you into trouble because you have all these ideas and then it's like, how do I execute this? How do I stop myself and edit?
And that's to say too, I know we had that conversation. You sent me the edited version and the longer version, but we decided that the longer version was stronger. So, you know, limitations that can be helpful. Sometimes they're limiting.
Megan, what happened to the dad?
Well, he's fine. I mean, her real dad is totally fine, never got sick. But in my scenario in the story, he does survive. He does eventually come off the respirator. It just, I like the idea of this de-evolution of this young girl who's like not really sure how to deal with it. She's like trying to continue her beauty routines, videos and whatever, and then just realizes it's like she could do better with her time and do something more important. So it was really helpful to keep the end on there, even though I probably could have cut some of the earlier stuff. But Catherine is so funny, and I had such a hard time being like, let's take out mac and cheese. I can't take out mac and cheese. It was gold. It was like
that moment. Like I don't watch a lot of beauty YouTube videos, but where she like holds up the compact and then is that a thing?
Like
hilarious.
To show, like in you know, check like is it close to my skin tone or like is it darker or lighter compared
but
to
like she does it for the like 20 shades of like insane eyeshadows. Like it didn't make any sense. But I loved it. It was like a really good choice.
Thank you. And a lot of that came from Catherine, honestly. I think after I told her I wanted to do that type of character, she like did some like research on her own and came up with some really funny stuff like that.
So good. Oh, thank you, Christine. Coming through.
I've seen that with like the brushes where they like.
Oh yeah, the brushes.
They have like a makeup brush and they're like, I'm using, this is my sister's obviously, but they're like, I'm using this brush, but I did laugh that it was bigger than her hand. Like, and so she was like, I have this thing, and you can like see her pinky peek over the top.
The flower crown killed me too, and the drums.
Oh my God, you felt such empathy for her when she just started going to town on her face and she had those cat eyes and it was just a mess. But man, I think as a viewer, you just feel so much empathy with her and that because she's trying to make it work.
Yep. All right. So then the next question I have is, what surprised you during this collaboration and this experience? For all of them.
I think kind of like how much it felt like actual theater. That was a really pleasant surprise. Like I really enjoyed the Zoom session with Ben and with Steph, and it felt like, oh, we're like still doing this. We're still being creative, and it felt rewarding.
Mm-hmm. I also think since the writers didn't all write like at the same time, even as a writer that writing the last one, and I had seen all the previous Zoomologues coming out, I was like, what's now? Like what's different from the first one? And rewatching them, I think is even more evident. And it was sort of surprising to see the national narrative change and how that impacted the writing and directing as well.
Cool.
I think when you first gave us the writing prompt, I was a little worried, you know, like how would I make this distinct from anything else? Like, you know, when you hear that it's an answer to the question, how are you doing? You feel like we're all experiencing this kind of the same way. So I was afraid like, oh, this is just going to be, you know, the same kind of thoughts and themes repeated over and over again. But when I did start writing it, it was surprising to me just how much I guess I needed to get off my chest, like, you know, how it all kind of came very freely, because these were things that I was, you know, compartmentalizing or putting off to the side and not thinking about, but, you know, actually being asked to put it into words in this other person's perspective. Yeah, it came faster and easier than I expected.
That's awesome.
I was also surprised how they often end up feeling very like confessional and private. Even in the office scenario and some of the other ones, it's like very yeah, private. It feels like a private moment. And I think part of it is like the technical fact that it's a square and we're all like, most of them are recorded from, you know, like headshot level or whatever you call it, like shoulders and up or whatever. So it ends up being very like private and conversational or personal, even when you try, the characters are trying not to make it that way. Like we didn't record anything with somebody standing like far in the background and like, I don't know, but it's Zoom, so that makes sense anyway. But I think part of that is just the framing makes it feel very confessional in a way. And so it really is effective.
Yeah, as the director, I found it actually really exciting and surprising how much fun I had directing with this small little screen and utilizing, you know, the quirks of the fact that we, you know, communicate through Zoom and how awkward it is. And Frank and I had a really good time. Frank was the actor. Had a really good time playing with like ways that he could be like off the camera. Like that was totally him. I told him to go off the camera, but it was him who like came up with the butt thing where his like butt was up all up in the camera. But even though, you know, at times it felt limited having such a small space, it was actually a lot of fun to play with. And that was really surprising. Yeah.
One of my professors in college, her like key phrase was exquisite pressure. Like anytime something went wrong with the set or our schedule or anything, and we were like, what do we do? She's like, exquisite pressure makes the best art. And so like if anything happens, we'd be like, exquisite pressure. And I think this was an exercise in exquisite pressure.
Yeah, because we are at such a, you know, significant time, especially for theater, because theater really is, you know, a huge industry that has to be put on hold in terms of the way that we're used to doing it and working together. Even like being in a rehearsal room, we can't do anymore for the time being. And I know I was inspired by the different the theater companies that were utilizing this digital space to create and to commission. And I knew I had like this incredible group of actors and writers and directors, and I wanted to, you know, I was inspired by them, and I thought, you know what, we are all going through this really cathartic, really fascinating time. How can we adapt, you know, our ways that we've normalized, and how can we open up opportunities and learn how to collaborate even when we're not in the same room, and how can we reflect on this experience. And you know, I feel like there are, in spite of our limitations, there are so many doors that are being opened, and we are being forced to open up our eyes as theater makers to see what is actually possible. So cool. So my last question, inspired by the wonderful, beautiful Rachel Berger, outside of the Zoomologues, how else are you finding creative fulfillment? And that can be as simple as going for walks every day or whatever it is you do. It doesn't have to be, you know, arts related. Yeah, you all can just jump in.
I know I toot this horn all the time, but I love the Cold Read series. Join in if you're a writer every week.
Or an
truly,
actor, or just like
or an
role
actor,
play.
yeah. Yes, reach out to Steph. She will connect. But it's been great. And like the co-op has been a great spot to just not even as like a reminder to make art. I think like it's a great community of people that are just also making art. And so you're like, yeah, I can do this too. And so it's an artistic experience to just see other artists, even if you're not making art. Just interacting with people who are making art.
Yeah, such a good point.
I've also enjoyed coming to the Cold Read series. I did not come enough when it was in person, and I finally kind of got into it now in this format, although I've missed the last couple of weeks. Yeah, doing a lot of writing. I've actually been lucky to be involved in some interesting projects that my antsy artist friends have put out there, just out of thinking, hey, I'm going crazy over here. We should do something. Can we do something? Yes. All right. Here's what it is. And it's been nice, like Riley said, to join with those people from a distance and try and create things together, or even just share each other's work and offer feedback and support, and just a listen and like a snap or an applause at the end. It's really it's been keeping me going in a lot of ways. So more of that, please.
Yeah, and it's awesome. I feel like I know Joe, as a playwright so well, but we've never met each other in person. And that's so cool about, it's one thing that I love about the digital space. Like, even though we're not seeing each other in person, you can still form a bond with someone when you haven't even seen their physical self yet. It's really powerful. Anyone else want to share? How else are you finding creative fulfillment? Whether we were watching a show, I know. Here, I'll go. You all are like fill my soul. But also, I have two of my most loved supporters here, Christine and Kelsey. I get so much creative fulfillment just by talking to them and having their support. And I've been trying to take more walks. This was the first week that I was really diligent about taking walks. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've been painting actually, which is, my new quarantine skill, I suppose. But it's been nice. It's nice to like have something that I do for myself, because I feel like with writing, sometimes there's deadlines and there's a little more pressure. So this feels like something for me.
That's really cool. What do you do? Watercolor? Do you use
What do I do? I do that.
What is this? Yeah.
I do acrylics because I like texture. So I bought like a ton of acrylic paint, and then I paint like moody abstract shit. It's fun. I'd recommend it.
I love that. That's amazing.
I, not regretfully, but also downloaded TikTok. I joined that during this quarantine just like a couple days ago, and I've made 2 TikToks. So
How do you follow you?
no, don't follow me yet. I'm gonna make sure it's good stuff. No, I do. I think it's funny, but my little brother is like, I guess, slightly TikTok famous. And I don't know, even slightly, like he's like millions of people that watch his videos. So I don't know if that's slightly, but he was always like, why aren't you on TikTok watching my videos? And I was like, because I'm older than you and I don't want to do that. But I downloaded it mostly so I could like go support him. But then I was like, I can do this too. And so I've been making another creative way.
Are you learning the dances? Like, what is that?
No, I don't do dances. I like I mean, I do like to dance, but what I've been doing is I scroll through TikTok because you can like steal the audio from someone's TikTok and then make your own video with that audio. So I've been like stealing video audio and then doing my own video with it. That's where I find comedy from. And so I don't know dances though. My brother has some dances, but I'm like, no one needs to see me in my New York tiny apartment trying to do anything that requires a ton of movement.
Not yet.
The young couple sitting there staring into the abyss while Riley talks about TikTok are my parents.
Do you know what TikTok is?
You're on mute, Mom.
I know what TikTok is because Planet Money has a TikTok.
There you go.
There you go. See, we're all adapting.
I only know what TikTok is because TikTok screwed up that guy's rally.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
What was the story?
Right, the case stands.
Yeah.
Millions of tickets.
To Trump's rally. Yeah.
Yeah. Yay, Gen Z. Yeah, that's
anyway. Now that I'm unmuted, you guys were great. It was really, really fun to watch and to hear your conversation. But now we have to watch the last episode of Dead Enders, Joe.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for being here.
You want to say
Thanks
something?
for having us. Nice to see you, Rachel. We once shared a pizza, if you don't remember.
I remember. I love your apartment. I miss you guys. Thanks for supporting.
Sure.
Yeah.
Send in lots of virtual hugs.
Okay, yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yay. And I know we have Janelle has joined us too for our talk back. You are welcome to share your video. You do not have to. But this is actually a good segue into opening up to, audience members. If you have any questions for our artists, this is your time to share. Any last thoughts?
I have a question. Hi everyone, great job. I enjoyed watching that. So for the actors, I'm assuming when you filmed it, you could see yourself the way that we do on Zoom, right? So I was wondering how that impacted your performance, since that's really different from being on a stage.
Mark, you want to go first or should I go first?
No, actually, I couldn't see myself because Riley mentioned before that I ended up by printing out I took a screenshot of a Zoom call like this because I decided that I had specific, it's just like film work. I had specific eye lines I wanted to have so that was kind of a blessing because it helped me add the eye lines and I also wasn't looking at myself.
Yeah, I was looking at myself and had to disassociate myself from looking at myself and really practice trying really hard not to feel distracted by it. So it was, it's like a totally different experience. And it did feel a little bit like when I've had to self-tape for auditions or projects. But yeah, it was definitely a different experience. It feels like it doesn't even feel like theater acting. It was having to focus on, this like frame of a phone and not look at all of my hand movements and realizing that I'm doing it as the mirror is doing it too. Yeah.
I feel like my vanity would have taken over in that moment. Like even on calls, FaceTime or something, I'm so aware of how I look in that moment or in that angle. I can't imagine trying to act through that.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a bizarre experience. But it's so interesting if the fact that we've all gotten so used to communicating on Zoom and looking at ourselves while we're talking. I don't know why Zoom does that. Why, even like, because on my phone I only see 4 boxes, but if I scroll to see more people, I'm always one of the boxes. I'm like, I don't need to see myself as I'm talking. So, yeah.
Zoom knows what we want more than anything, which is
right.
for it ourselves.
Giving us challenges, you know, really testing us.
All of the performances were so beautiful to watch because, like Megan said earlier, it was private moments and they all felt so private and intimate. And I felt like I could feel, you know, the uncertainty of things, you know, even with your piece, Steph. And it was really cool because it felt as if, you know, it was a Zoom call with just me and the actor.
That's cool. Yeah, especially as an audience member. It's so curious to see, you know, like how are we now receiving, you know, these pieces and like getting to see what is essentially a private moment now showcased in a way. It's really interesting.
At the same time, there is something very theatrical about it because there's no manipulation. You know, like there's no fancy editing you can do, or a quick switch of a camera angle to convey something. I mean, you know, if you have a blue screen capability, you can give yourself a fun background. But other than that,
don't forget my fancy graphics, Joe.
And yes, and the Instagram.
Gotta hire Megan for your future.
I definitely will. But yeah, but like other than that, once you hit record, it feels very much like you're under the lights on a stage, and everything you do is laid bare like that. So I think that was an interesting thing to discover in the age of Zoom theater.
I thought it was interesting that because it was framed as a Zoomologue, something on Zoom, even though it felt private and intimate, it wasn't like we were catching these characters in a private moment in their room and they didn't know that the camera and the audience was there. Like they were all on Zoom for a reason. So we were like, there was an audience member in their mind. So like the one with the woman talking to her mother about being pregnant, like it was an actual call between, and it was intimate because it's the daughter talking to her mother that we were witnessing, but it wasn't like we caught them unbeknown in their, you know, in their bathroom or something, right? It's like it wasn't a diary entry. Like they were speaking to someone, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, and I was so curious to explore like the fact that we have to have these conversations, you know, through a screen, these like really intimate conversations. Like what does that look like? And like the fact that the screen froze at the end, and like that really like plays with your psyche. And when we have to have these really serious conversations, like how does that change us as humans and affect us?
I love the settings too, like thinking about what you choose to show in your background, or how the directors and the actors and the writers work together to figure out what to show, because that can say so much about the character too. So yeah, I just thought it was so cool to see, you know, we saw that guy talking from his bed and the shower, like with the curtain open in the background, and then like just lots of different things, which was, it was fun to watch.
I also know for those that like have read any of my other pieces in the cold read or otherwise, I tend to like to use the trick of a theater, whether it be lighting, sound. Like I love the the techniques of theater, and they all are not there. Like I can't be like blackout, change of lights. I can't say like, I mean, sound I did with our directing with Mark. I was like, I'm adding a sound effect, but otherwise, it's harder. I think Megan actually really did that really well, and it felt authentic in adding these effects and like took the technique of YouTube instead. But as a writer, I know that was challenging because you can't do a soliloquy because like has been said too, like they are speaking to somebody. Nobody gets on Zoom and is like God, like or universe, you know. So you do have to have like, an audience member. Like you have to have somebody, and then at the same time, because it's a monologue, there has to be a reason that they're just like speaking uninterrupted, and that does sort of bring its own exciting restrictions where you can be like, why are the stakes so high that they can't stop talking to let the other person respond, without the tropes of theater, without the like soliloquies.
Yeah. It was fun. It was cool though to see how we can like I felt like I was able to use my theater directing tools, you know, to guide and to tell the story. It was so interesting seeing like how it was a really interesting experience having to help like tell this story like through this screen. And I did I was like, we don't have like the big lights and the big entrances and things like that, but there was an intimacy that I found to be really exciting to explore and discover.
The piece that Frank performed by Kevin, the lighting in that piece was really well done. Like I felt like that was thought out. I don't know if that was you, the director or the actor, but it was just like this beautiful light coming in from the window on one side, and it felt very intentional. And I was like, wow, they really, I don't know, it looked really good.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I mean, that was mainly him. That big bowl, that was all him. I said, get some food, and he brought this obnoxious bowl. Yeah. It was definitely, and I know with like the one that I performed in with like that Ben, like Ben's was really intentional. His, all of that, like the placement and it being at night, like all of that was, he told me to record at night. So it would be like a night webinar about making sourdough bread. So, yeah.
Are there gonna be more?
Well, I would love that. Do we want more? Do you all feel like you can do more? I know there's more. It's so, I'd be so interested too, because so much has shifted in what we talk about, and like what parts of the country now are in like urgent pandemic mode, and there's just so much has changed, and I'd be really fascinated to see what new monologues come about because of that. Some of the things that are really timely. So yeah, I say let's do more. Let's keep this going if you all are up for it. So yeah, cool. All right, I said we were gonna keep this under 90 minutes, and I think we're just about that point. Thank you all so much. This has been so incredibly fulfilling, and I adore you all, which I always say, but I'm just gonna keep saying it. Janelle, I'm so glad that you're able to join us last minute. I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, just you know, there's a lot of work, you know, there's so much creative energy going on, which is amazing. I don't know how I get the energy, but it's just having groups like this, and you know, there's more and more people that are so passionate and coming together, and like you mentioned a little bit earlier, you know, getting to know people through their art and feeling like you know a really deep and personal part of them, and then you realize I've never met this person in my life, but you see how their voice is shining through the performances or through, you know, projects like this. And that's one of the things I really love about this group and the cold read that you do as well, because I see blossoming talent, and I also see collaboration and the future of everything that is being cultivated in a virtual setting. But it's as little seeds, and I feel like that's what you find in this group. And Rachel, this is, thank you so much for creating this.
Yes, Rachel and Steph.
Yeah. Go Steph.
Well, Rachel's the one that has said yes to me over and over again. So there's that. But then you all keep showing up. So thank you so much for continuously showing up for this and for these opportunities. And you make me want to keep doing it. So I so appreciate all of your work, and I think you're all incredibly talented. So yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
More.
I always forget. Okay. Y'all know I can't take a screenshot with everyone. So who wants to be a volunteer?
I'm talking on it. Cheese. Hold on. Cheese. Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. Love it. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful weekend. Thank you for showing up and being an audience member and for being a part of this community.
Thank you.
Bye. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Yay!
Yay! Yay!
Steph, you're awesome. Holy shit.
Wow.
Sorry I kept muting you. I didn't know if it was your sound or not that was like intercepting with like Riley's sound, or
It could have been. I had my AC on for a lot of it, and I wonder if that was.
So I just kept muting you.
I know.
I'm
Aggressive.
sorry.
Incredible. That's so funny. No, that was great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel so proud. I feel so proud of you. I feel like you probably are like have so much warmth in your heart right now.
Thanks. I know. I need to like practice receiving it. I do feel like I just love these people so much, and I think they're also the ones that driving the bus, driving the boat, and they're also willing to show up and share their insight and their hearts with me. That I'm just like, I will hold space for you, but you're the ones who are showing up. So yeah, it's such a good group. Love them. So
yeah,
and I mean, you're the one, like I said, you're like, you trust me so much.
And I'm like, well, steering the ship. We're going over here today.
Right? I'll hop on with you. I trust you. So.
I'm going over here today.
Here we go. So next we'll have like a Zoom dance collaboration. That'll be nice.
But there are so many people though that I feel like we haven't tapped to be a part of the cold read. Like Chris could be a part of it. Janelle could be a part of it. Clara, I don't know if she's shown up, but she's supposedly a writer.
No, who was the first person you said?
Chris, our oldest.
Oh yeah, well he just showed up. And Janelle has been around for a minute now. Yeah, I think she was also one who had volunteered to be a part of the Zoomologues. But things just got so chaotic that I didn't find her call orders. But that's to say, I do want to keep doing more. I mean, we might as well.
What I wanted to say is like, it feels like a time capsule, and it's such a cool, there's social media and all, you can scroll through and keep a diary of like your stream of consciousness thoughts, but like what we've created with the Zoomologues is like something tangible of artistically of what is happening in the moment, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah. And it's so, like what Joe said, it was so true that, the one that Maggie wrote for me and even Megan's and Joe's, like those feel like they belong in the time that they were written. And things have changed so dramatically that it's not like they feel not insignificant, but they just don't resonate as much. I felt like they just like don't, they resonate on a different level.
Definitely.
Yeah, than the new ones. So.
Definitely. Now we need like the systemic racism, Black Lives Matter. What's that Zoomologue look like in dialogue with COVID? I mean, that would be interesting.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I want to reach out to Janelle again. I wonder if they would write something for us. And,
that'd be cool.
And I also want to have more full. I want to get my bet together to do a full read workshop for Joe. I think, I told you this on the phone, so I think that's all part of this. So, yeah.
Keep it up. You got it. Keep it up. You got it. You're so sweet. I love your friends.
Yeah. Oh, they were so wonderful. So good to have them, because I've been talking about the cold read series for so long. And now they get to actually see the people. I was so tickled that like they can actually see the people that I talk about all the time.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, anyways, if you do feel like there are other people that I can reach out to directly, I know like Mikkel, she was really involved. She had a great 20 pages that she shared with us, but just hasn't come in as often. Jake has been showing up some.
Oh yeah, Jake.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah, all good. It's late.
Yeah. Not that late.
It's true.
It's Zoom late.
It's Zoom late. Being on the screen late. I literally have these moments where I like look around and I'm like, oh wait, I'm not in this room with people. Like I am. It's so trippy.
It is weird. It's like, can I just go?
Right? I know. I can see in this chair.
Hello.
Right? I love the next century's technology. Teleport.
Yeah, that should be awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, I love ya.
Love you too.
Yeah.
Oh, this is all recorded. I love you.
Did I say anything secretive? Inappropriate? I'm sorry.
Well,
we'll cut this for the showing when we
Yes.
publish it. If we do.
Let's chat about Sunday and July 4th when that comes around.
That sounds good. All right.
Yeah.
Love you too.
Good night.